two, one, and we are live, my friend.
All
Hello.
right, beautiful. Mr. Montecavo, good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. How are you?
I'm amazing, thank you. Kids are in bed. Wife is working away, making all our dreams come true. How are
As
you?
usual.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. Okay.
Well,
Well, not sure how to get this thing actually started. So,
sure,
I,
sure.
I guess, no, you go ahead then.
Okay, so as we are just coming out of our It Works conference, our annual conference, which if anybody doesn't know, It Works is the company that both of our wives work for. It's a health and wellness business, multi-level marketing company, and as you will find out, it's been just a real blessing to everybody that I've come across involved with the organization. And so this evening, Ryan and I thought we would take some time to share a little bit of our experience in the hope that, maybe some of the blessing that we've been able to receive, that we can go ahead and pass that along to somebody else. So maybe we can start off. Ryan is the senior member of this group, the highest ranking individual here. Maybe Ryan could tell us a little bit about his story, maybe, what your life was like before you encountered It Works.
All right. Well, you said all of that very nicely, way better than I could have described it. So that was awesome. But yeah, like you said, hi, my name's Ryan, and my wife is the one who originally got us into this business. It was about almost it might be almost 7 years ago now. And she came home. She was a bartender at the time, and I was a poker dealer. And she had met up with a lady at a Panera Bread, and she came home and she told me that she was about to get in this business and she was going to retire me and she was going to retire herself and we were going to have the amazing life. And I thought that she was totally nuts. And yeah, that's where we basically started. I had no idea if she was serious about it or if it was going to be one of those, she's into it one day and then, the next week it's like, you know what, that's not for me. But she stuck with it. And about 2 years into it, not even, maybe a year and a half into it, she was already retired. She was making enough money to retire me from dealing at the Hard Rock.
Mm-hmm.
So she brought me home, and we've been working this thing full time ever since then. And
That's
along the
cool.
way, we've brought in two different couples who ended up in the top 150 income earners in the entire company. So that's kind of my claim to fame, is that I was involved in that pickup of the great Shelby Dunbar. So
Yeah.
now she's officially moved up to a Shelby Sutton, which is an
Mhm.
improvement. And that's kind of where you come in. So why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of your backstory?
Sure, sure. So, and that was well said, sir. So I came into the business, or my wife rather, came upon the business actually through Ryan, as he said. Ryan and I went to high school together, and we ended up many years ago on a cruise in the Caribbean where we were all just living our best lives and having a great time. And um, social media being what it is, uh, Ryan made a comment to my wife Shelby at the time. I don't know if it was on the cruise or if it was after the cruise. Maybe he can tell us.
It
But
was on the cruise.
on the cruise, he said, "You got to talk to my wife. She's got this phenomenal business. Maybe it would be great for you." And at the time, um, Shelby had been working in a number of different fields. She had done marketing. She went to college, but she really hadn't found anything that was meeting her passions. She knew that she wanted to be a mom, that she wanted to have a family, and just that regular 9 to 5 grind was never going to cut it for her. And so at the time, you know, we didn't have any kids. I was making plenty of money. I told her, like, there's no reason for you to go to work and be miserable. I'd rather have a little less money and you stay home. So she was had already left her job, and she was kind of looking for a way to make some money. And she was really just looking for, some walking around cash at that point, because, I wasn't making so much that that without her working, we were living it up. But so she talked to Fair, and she came home to me and said that she was going to participate in the business. And I had heard of other multi-level marketing companies. I didn't know much about them. To say that I was skeptical is probably an understatement, but at the same time, I loved her, and I didn't see any harm in it. So I said, hey, go do what you want to do, whatever makes you happy. That was kind of where we were at prior to her leaving her job, anyways. Go do what's going to make you happy.
Right.
And as the years progressed, she continued to work at it, and lo and behold, years later, our game plan was to homeschool our children, and she had the same dream as Ryan and Fair did, as well as being able to allow me to leave corporate America and kind of come home and be a full-time family. And while it seemed far-fetched to me, I was certainly all about it. And lo and behold, 5 years later, about 6 months ago, I actually left my job, and we are now a full-time family as well. And it's just an incredible blessing to be where we are. Ryan, if you were to go back to maybe not even the beginning, maybe a year in, maybe 6 months in, maybe when Fair started talking about bringing you home, was that ever something that was really realistic in your mind, or was it kind of just a kind of a pipe dream a little bit?
No, I feel like the women are better at visualizing
Yeah.
this amazing, better life,
Mm-hmm.
because whenever she came home and told me about it, I was kind of in that I was already settled for what we had, and it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, well, I already thought this is good enough. So you're over here talking about how we're going to make, all this money and everything's going to be great. Okay, if you can do that, fine, because I'm already happy with what I have. I don't know. That's just more of like a guy's mentality, I think. It's
Mm-hmm.
not to like say these wild things like, oh, I'm gonna get the nice house and the nice car, and I'm gonna take care of you and all this stuff, and you're not gonna ever have to work again. So when she came home telling me that, let's not even beat around the bush here. It sounded like it was way too good to be true, and like she got involved in some kind of like scam. There's no
Sure.
other way of kind of describing that feeling when someone's that excited about something that sounds so extraordinary. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like it's gonna turn around and like bite you somehow.
Sure.
But it's been almost, it's crazy to even say the words out loud. It's been almost 5 years now that I've been retired from my job. So that
Mm-hmm.
job that I was just gonna settle for, I haven't even thought about that job in forever. And now that I am thinking about it, though, it's so funny because I remember whenever I was telling the people there, like, hey, man, I put in my 2 weeks. And, my wife actually, that thing you were laughing about and telling me that, it was such crap and we were going to get ripped off, like, she's retiring me because I'm making more money, or we would be making more money if we didn't have to worry about like kid care and all that stuff. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to stay at home. And a lot of people were just saying, you know what, you'll be back. They always come back. And it was amazing to see that, like, the mindset of the people that I was around when I was like at home and like building this business with my wife was
Mm-hmm.
completely different than the mindset of like all the other people that I was coming into contact on a day-to-day basis. Like, everybody on this side had these dreams and aspirations, and we were all like working towards something that we were like trying to get. And everyone over here was just kind of like working with their head down on their own thing,
Mm-hmm.
calling everyone else, bull crap, or, they're just saying that that'll never work, and just trying, they're hoping that everything else isn't going to work. And I got
Sure.
to see that firsthand. It was kind of eye-opening that I kind of never wanted to get back into that
Definitely.
environment. So
Definitely. It's kind of that misery loves company a little bit, right?
sure. and
Mm-hmm.
and I just got off on a wild tangent there, and it all came from you just asking how I felt when she first told me that. I just like, when I go back in time, that mindset I had back then
Mm-hmm.
was completely different. I'm a completely different person now than I was then. just on
Sure.
everything. I used to say that like I was a realist, which was really my way of saying that I was negative about everything, but I'm not an asshole. But in reality, I kind of am.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when I started, like that was another thing she came home with. She said not only is she going to retire me, but she's going to start listening to Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins and all these people. I was like, oh my goodness, like what is happening? I'm not trying to listen to that in the car. Like I want to listen to Drake or whatever. I don't want to listen to that. So I thought that was wild and crazy, but that's been another one of the biggest things and biggest blessings that's came out of this business is it turned me on to that. And now my mind is just totally different. I'm open to when someone's telling me about some kind of opportunity like this, I'm
Mhm.
more of asking questions and trying to find out details where when before someone would mention it and I'd instantly just be like, oh, I'm a realist and that shit don't work. Like I don't need to hear it. And it
Yep.
was really because I wasn't willing to work that kind of business. And if it weren't for my wife, I'll just say I would have never got into this business because I wouldn't have given it a shot. So
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe that's how most guys are, is what it seems like.
Well, and I think you hit the nail right on the head there, Ryan, and I appreciate you sharing that, man. And I'm sure you can testify to this as well. Ever since you've been in the business, you're constantly coming across couples and husband and wife and boyfriend and girlfriend that are at some point along their it works journey, right? Maybe they just got started, maybe they're making $1 million a year and everything in between. And it seems like, especially after coming out of conference, maybe you can testify that you're getting a similar experience. Every guy that I talk to has a similar reaction in the beginning, right? They're all a little bit skeptical of how big the opportunity is, how great the opportunity is, the freedom that comes along with it, because it really is, more than we could have ever imagined. And this Ephesians quote keeps coming up in all my Bible studies lately. It's Ephesians 3:21, and it's now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ask or imagine. And that was kind of the theme of the whole conference, and it really speaks to that this is so much bigger than anything that maybe we could wrap our minds around prior to that. But that is kind of the elephant in the room, right? Is that there have been, I think everybody in their life has had an experience with some sort of multi-level marketing, some sort of pyramid scheme, some sort of Ponzi scheme. Either it was their parents or their brother or their cousin or their uncle or their friend. They know somebody who tried in a business like this and for one reason or another was not successful.
Right.
And so it's not an unreasonable position for these men to come in and say, whoa, this looks a lot like a scam, because again, that's our primary function as the man, as the father, as the husband. We're there to protect our family, we're there to protect our wife, right? The whole Garden of Eden thing. We're here to keep the wife away from the snakes. And
Right.
this, in a lot of ways, it sounds like a snake. Like you said, it sounds too good to be true. So, maybe at the end of this, hopefully, by sharing our story a little bit and presenting some of the successes that are real, and anybody that knows us, man, knows we're not, if we're anything, we're real. Um,
I'm not an actor, that's for sure.
yeah. No. We're not nearly good enough at this to be actors. Um,
And
so
that's now that you mention that though, it's funny because whenever my wife came home, she showed me this magazine and she was flipping through it and she's saying, look at this couple. They're retired and this is their house, this is their car. And I
mhm,
was like, well, we could go stand behind that house right over there that has that nice car. That could be
sure,
our house and our car,
mhm,
and we could be in a magazine. Like,
sure.
I'm had to see it to believe it. So
Mhm.
some women, they just kind of want to prove you wrong in a way, and I feel like
Not
that
fair
was,
though. Not fair.
yeah, no. But I feel like that was my wife's kind of not her mindset wasn't proving me wrong, but it was just
Sure.
showing me she was right about it. And just
Sure.
like you said, I just wanted her to be like, hey, don't like, okay, it's fine that you're in it, but don't come home now telling me that you just spent $500 on
Sure.
XYZ, because no, then they got you. And
Yeah.
that never happened. So,
Mhm.
and
No.
another thing that we actually talked about the other day is whenever she had came home and she said, I'm going to be selling these skincare products and these
Mhm.
vitamins and these green supplements, all this stuff. I was like, man, no one's buying that. Like you're not going to make any money. No one's buying it. And I walked upstairs and I went into our bedroom, and just everything, all of a sudden I just like took like an inventory real quick. I looked around and she had every single thing on the planet. She had like the lip and eye creams with the
Mhm.
eyelash boosting stuff over here,
Mhm.
and the cleanser and this, and then all
Mhm.
of a sudden it was like, all right, well, at least she's now selling something that she can use instead
Sure.
of selling something and then having to go out and buy all of this stuff anyway. So that was kind of like an awakening moment too, where I was like, okay, there's money to be made. And then
Yeah.
who am I really kidding? If you think about like the skincare market and the
Mhm.
supplement market, it's billions of dollars
Oh yeah.
every single year, billions and billions and billions. So
Oh yeah, we're really massive, man. And the product lines, even though they are targeted a little more towards women, but women are the ones who buy most everything anyways. They're the ones who kind of control the economy from that side. So it makes sense to be doing it for women.
well, that's why they got coffee for us, because they know that's something that we can't live
That's it.
without. So
That's it. Absolutely. And God willing, if they get any more products that are something that we might use, Lord knows I'll start pushing them out there, man, because it's been such a blessing. And let me ask you this, Ryan, because this is something that maybe doesn't get addressed as much, but it's a real concern.
uh-oh.
And it's real, man. Maybe it can help somebody. So you're gonna come home from work. You don't have to deal cards anymore, and that's incredible. And you get to spend time with your family, but you're no longer the breadwinner for your family, right?
Right.
And I mean, traditionally, that has been a role that's been assigned to the masculine, right? And Lord knows, man, I'm not going to be so prideful that I'm going to sit here and be like, "Woman, you can't make money because I'm the breadwinner." That's not going to work. But it's not as easy as just coming home and saying, "All right, man, now you just sit around and play golf and do jujitsu all day," right? I mean, your life has changed pretty dramatically, I would imagine. I mean, what kind of challenges did you have to go through? What are you dealing with now? How has your relationship with your kids changed? I mean, what does your life look like now?
Okay, I think in a way you yourself, Phil, are actually trying to ask me some kind of wisdom here, because you're now going through the
Yeah,
exact thing, and I've already gone through it. So,
sure,
I'd say that it's scary at first.
sure,
And it's not only is it scary because when you quit your job, you lose a guaranteed amount of money that was coming in every month. So that part's scary. On
hmm
top of that, it's scary to think, all right, I'm gonna have to clear everything with my wife now before I can make a purchase. You know what I mean? And then it's also scary to really, in the grand scheme of things, it's really scary to think the whole weight of our mortgage, our two cars, our everything involving our kids, everything is on my wife now.
sure,
So when I came home, well, first of all, let me backtrack. The reason I was able to come home and my wife wanted me to come home, though,
Mhm.
was because anytime she needed help doing anything in her business, I
Sure,
was there to help her. And
okay,
so, had I been some shithead, sorry for the language, I knew it would pop out somewhere.
hmm
Had I been a shithead back in the day,
hmm
she probably wouldn't have been excited about having me come home.
hmm
But since we built the business as a team, and sometimes, and at the beginning, it was definitely me being part of the team was more like me doing the dishes and the laundry and
sure,
getting the kids put to bed, making sure everyone was fed, while she does a meeting over here and then goes to a lunch over here and then meets up with a potential client over here. So a lot of supporting your spouse and being part of the team can look like that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came home, it was basically, we're going to go as hard as we possibly can. And she once I was home, she was going over the things she was doing on Facebook with me. Before, she would have all these meetings with her team and do it through like these kind of Zoom meetings, and I wouldn't pay any attention. But all of a sudden, when I'm at home, like you're saying, I can't just do, jujitsu only and sit on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be expanding my network and messaging with people and just building relationships, things that like I didn't want to do on Facebook
Sure.
ever. And I never thought I would. I was always like, well, I'll never use my Facebook like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you will. If you get to not have to ever go to a job again,
Mm-hmm.
and it will help your business grow, you'll do it. So
yeah, amen to that. I must be just incredibly transparent. That's wise and sage wisdom from Ryan Montecava there. And you're right. I was 100% asking because those are all challenges that I'm facing right now. And so I do appreciate you coming out with that. But the other side of that question, which I do want to get at real quick. I know we don't have a ton more time. I think I might have to jet soon. I got the wave from Shelby that she's going to need the computer soon.
you have to wrap it up.
Yeah, basically I'm getting played off a little bit. But real quick, man, I mean, now that you are getting to be home, you got a big old herd of children over there, man, which I envy. We're working on catching up with you. You're still working on them. So, I mean, it's incredible what you're doing. How has your life changed with your kids, your relationship with your boys? I mean, how has your relationship with your wife changed now that you're both not being pulled by corporate America? I mean, how has your relationship with God changed? I mean, what's your life look like right
now? Because my memory is not that good, I'm going to start with the last part.
All right.
It's so funny because we were talking about mindset at the beginning of this too. And I'm not sure if it was my wife's mindset, her spirituality, whatever you want to call it. But whenever she came home and she was really talking about this business, she started talking about church. And for me, it was something that I got saved when I was 18 years old. Maybe I was 19 years old, something like that. And I'd gone to church a couple times, and I was kind of cool with it. But somewhere along the way, I became a realist.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know. I just let the cynical world get to me. And she started coming home talking about how she was going to go to church. So she started going with one of her friends. Can't even remember who it was. Really would like to remember. I can't remember. She started going with one of her friends. And she started coming home talking to me about how we're so unevenly yoked. And I was like, whoa, first of all, I don't know what that means. I don't speak Old Hebrew or whatever. I didn't know what she was saying, but she was just like, yeah, like I can't be with somebody who is so lacking in faith when I'm so full of faith. And I was like, well, time out, hold on. I didn't say that I don't like all of it. Hold on, let me go to this church. So I started getting into church kind of because her mindset had shifted so much that she was just trying to be a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she was kind of, in a way, she almost was strong-arming me into becoming a better person, which I appreciate anyway. So
yeah, praise God for that.
Yeah, that was awesome. So, and honestly, that's the kind of kick in the ass guys need sometimes to get them going. So, off on a tangent again, that's how my relationship with God has never been better than it has because of this business too. So now we try to go to church every weekend, even though we've been missing here and there. And I kind of talk her into missing sometimes. Like, hey, babe, I know you're pregnant. Like, you're not feeling that good, or and that's my bad. But we still watch online. So there's the first part of that question. My relationship with him has made my relationship with my wife much better too. I think that was actually the second part of the question. So that's perfect. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I'll be really super transparent with you. Whenever my wife and I were having a lot of marital problems, that's exactly what pulled us through to the end. Is we didn't know where to turn, and we joined a Bible, or it wasn't a Bible study. It was like a, can't remember what they call it. Some kind of group, because if they
Yeah, like a
called it
small group or a life group or something.
something like that, some kind of small group. Had they called it a Bible study, I wouldn't have showed up because that doesn't sound fun at all. But we went to it, and honestly, it totally changed the dynamic of our relationship because we started putting him in the center of it. So yeah, that got pretty deep pretty quick. But yeah, that's great. And then on a day-to-day basis, I'll be able to cover the wife and kids aspect of it. On a day-to-day basis, I wake up every day. I get all the kids up for school. I get the high schooler up. Then he just gets up and does his own thing. Then I get the elementary kid up. I get his lunch packed. We talk downstairs for 20 minutes before school. I drive him to school every single day, even though he could just walk there. I could walk there too, but I'm too lazy to do that in the morning. So I drive him there. We have a nice little conversation. I drop him off, come home. I get the other kid up for school. He goes on his way. I get my wife's coffee ready. I go upstairs. I wake her up if I know she wants to be woken up, because sometimes she doesn't. And then from then on, it's usually I go to jujitsu. She goes to meet with somebody to sell them some kind of product, do some kind of thing like that. We reconvene at like 12:30 and we go have lunch together. And then the kids start coming home and we're there. The high schooler walks in the door, we're home, and we're both like, hey, how was school? He talks to us for like 1 second, says, good. Can I get a snack? We're like, yeah, of course. And then he's gone again. All right, whatever. An hour passes by. I walk down the street. I pick up Sterling, who's walking home from school. I get to talk to him about his day. An hour after that, the other kid's coming home. Fair and I are getting dinner ready for the kids now. It's honestly, it's beautiful. It really is what I think is kind of the American dream.
Yes, sir.
It's awesome. We get to just set our own schedule and work when we want to work. And there is a lot of time where maybe you don't want to go have a phone call with somebody who's saying like, hey, can I call you at 2:00? And you want to be, sitting on your couch at 2, watching whatever you're watching, but yet to stop whatever you're doing and life kind of takes a halt. And maybe the kids are asking you questions. You got to stop that and go do this. But it's so worth it in the end, all the freedom. Because before this, I was a poker dealer and I used to work from, I think, 7 at night till 3 in the morning. So I'd get home, it would be like 4:30 in the morning. I'd unwind a little bit. It would be like 5:30 in the morning. I'd get to sleep. It would be like 6 in the morning. I'd sleep until like 2 in the afternoon. I wouldn't know what happened. Somehow the kids would get up and get to school and all this. I'd be waking up with the kids coming home, and sometimes they'd be coming home and they'd be waking me up, and I'd be all grouchy like, dude, tell them be quiet right now. It's just such a total 180 that and literally it all sounds too good to be true. And that's exactly how I felt about it. And when I speak the words out loud, it still sounds too good to be true. But it's even better because it's literally been 5 years of just handling our own time and doing whatever we want. It's crazy. You now have that coming too. So
yeah, no, it's you're 100% right, man. And there are some drawbacks of working for yourself and being your own boss. It's what, 9:00 at night or something, and Shelby's still working, and me and you were doing this, but at the end of the day, the benefits far outweigh the costs. There's drawbacks to having to go be on somebody else's time as well. So you'd certainly rather be able to set your own schedule and set your own priorities. You can't really call in sick so much when you're your own boss.
right.
But, at the end of the day, man, you really nailed it. It's like what we have is beyond anything that we could imagine before. And it comes down, I think a lot of it, like you said, you still, to some extent, don't feel like we deserve it or we've earned it or whatever. And, we serve an incredibly powerful and incredibly good God. And he just wants so much, and he has so much more for us than we can imagine. And we are worth it, and we do deserve it. And part of the secret is to start seeing ourselves the way that he sees us. and not the way that the world sees us, right? The rational, would you say cynical kind of, this is the way it is kind of thinking, like that's the world talking, and those are the lies that we've got to get over. And so, the girls do seem to take to getting over that faster than we do. So
I might have just had an epiphany about that actually.
right
I
on.
feel like it could. I'm sorry to keep you going. I feel like you got to go. I think that what it is it's easier for a woman to go tell her other friend,
Mhm.
"Hey, I'm thinking about getting this started.
Mhm.
What do you think? Do you have my back?" And
Mhm.
not be scared. You know what I mean? They kind of have
Yeah.
a woman's support system. Where
Mhm.
guys, we have camaraderie and
Mhm.
ball busting and like
Oh yeah.
jokes, and you don't bring, you don't. Or actually, you know what? Boom! I just actually unraveled the entire. I unraveled all of it. Are you ready? It comes down
Yeah.
to the man's ego. There's no man
Mhm.
who wants to say, you know what, I'm not doing enough at home and bringing in enough money,
Mhm.
and we're going to start a business because we need to make more of it. The
Mhm.
guy's mentality is just like I said, like, hey, we're fine with what we got. If someone asks us if we're broke, we're going to just act like we're not broke, even though we're broke. Like,
Yep.
you don't
Yep.
put yourself out there, and a woman's not scared to put herself out there. So I think that
That's it.
that
That's it. That's what it is. I think that the women are less afraid to be vulnerable, right?
right.
Guys want to put up that false front and that toughness. And so, again, the lie is that it's making you tough, but the truth is that it's actually holding you back and making you weak,
Mm,
because he's got
yeah.
so much more for us. So, Ryan, man, again, I think I told you this weekend when we were together, but I want to say it again. I mean it. Thank you so much for stepping out of your comfort zone and introducing Shelby to this business. And we both of us are just so incredibly blessed to be where we're at with our families, and hopefully, um, we can do anything. And so if there is anybody out there that wants to reach out to us, please feel free. You know where to find us. We ain't hard to find. We've been here for years. Just please let us know what we can do to be a resource. And Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time, man.
Yeah, man. Let's do another one of these again soon.
My
And
schedule's pretty wide open.
awesome, me too, obviously. And dude, you don't know how great that just made me feel, man. That was another one of the goals that the wife came home
Mhm.
with, is that she's gonna also, like, get everyone else this life of freedom. And something else that I was like, yeah, good luck with that. And our freedom. And now here we are. We're free. You're
Yeah,
free.
that's it.
You spread it down. Now Rochelle and Brian are free. So
That's it.
it's just the
Yes,
people
sir.
that are working consistently and hard in this business are going to be the ones who make it happen. And
That's it.
hey, I'm super glad that it ended up being you guys. So
Me too. Me
awesome.
too. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.
Have a great evening, and we'll get together and do it again soon.
Awesome, buddy. See ya.
All right, man. See ya.